It's October 23rd here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with President Yoon Suk-yeol's state visit to Riyadh. The South Korean leader and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman agreed to upgrade their strategic partnership from oil-based to future-oriented relations. 51 deals and memorandums of understanding worth nearly $16 billion have been newly sealed. 17 aid trucks entered Gaza from Egypt on Sunday after 20 trucks went in the previous day. While the UN's humanitarian chief warns civilians that much more is needed, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned the war against Hamas is a do or die. South Korea is doing all it can to tame the spread of lumpy skin disease in cattle. It's spending over $7 million in carrying out inspections with the related ministries across the country. President Yoon Suk-yeol held summit talks with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman during his official state visit to Saudi Arabia. The leaders agreed to level up their cooperation from oil-based to future-oriented ties to transform their respective economies. Our Oh Soo-young starts us off.
South Korea and Saudi Arabia agreed to ramp up their bilateral cooperation to a future-oriented strategic partnership in new industries, with over $15 billion worth of deals to be inked as they prepare for a post-oil economy. President Yoon Suk-yeol and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman held a summit in Riyadh Sunday, as Yoon becomes the first South Korean leader to make a state visit to Saudi Arabia. Their talks also fall upon the 50th anniversary of South Korean firms entering the kingdom's construction sector. Until now, the bilateral relationship focused largely on one commodity, oil, and construction projects in Saudi Arabia dating back to the 1970s. But now, with the Saudi Vision 2030 looking to diversify away from oil and spark economic and social innovation, the two countries are expanding their cooperation into new promising areas.
As investments in nuclear power plants, green energy, digital technologies, and AI expand globally, our partnership with the Middle East region is moving to a stage that encompasses future industries such as hydrogen, IT, automobiles, and renewable energy.
Yoon said the two countries make optimal partners in growing their post-oil economies, reiterating the need for greater collaboration. He also asked bin Salman to play a leading role in stabilizing global oil prices amid market volatility. The Crown Prince welcomed the president's state visit and pledged to communicate more frequently with Yoon, saying Korea is a key partner in this Vision 2030. Agreeing to strengthen cooperation in the defense sector, the two leaders also saw eye-to-eye on the potential for partnership in fields such as tourism, smart farms, statistics, cybersecurity, and food and drug regulations. They also called for joint efforts to produce solid outcomes before holding a signing ceremony for key memorandums of understanding. These include a visa exemption scheme for diplomats and state officials, establishing a strategic partnership committee, and agreements to cooperate on hydrogen production and utilization, government statistics, and regulatory procedures on food and medical products. The two leaders also welcomed the more than 50 business MOUs to be signed during Yoon's official visit, worth some $15.6 billion of investment, on top of the $29 billion Riyadh pledged to inject into South Korea last year. Also during their talks, Yoon and bin Salman discussed their response to the Israel-Hamas conflict, with the South Korean leader offering necessary support, including humanitarian assistance. Going forward, Yoon's office says, with South Korea's developmental experience and technological prowess, and Saudi's abundant resources and growth potential, the two countries can strike up synergy as they shift towards a sustainable future and look to overcome complex geopolitical challenges. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Riyadh.
President Yoon also attended an investment forum with business leaders from both countries. There, dozens of agreements were made, and projects were not just limited to infrastructure and oil. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
As South Korea and Saudi Arabia deepen economic cooperation with multi-billion-dollar projects between the two countries, an investment forum was held in light of President Yoon Suk-yeol's visit to Riyadh. President Yoon, stepping up in front of around 300 business leaders and government officials from both sides, emphasized the synergy effect between the two countries.
첨단 기술력과 성공적인 산업발전 경험을 보유한 한국과 풍부한 자본과 성장 잠재력을 갖춘 사우디가 손을 잡으면 그 어느 나라보다도 강력한 시너지를 만들어낼 수 있습니다.
According to the top office, 46 MOUs and deals have been signed from this event, and around 30 were deals in high-tech industries and new businesses. This includes Hyundai Motors building an EV plant in Saudi Arabia, as well as deals related to hydrogen energy production as Saudi Arabia prepares itself for the post-oil economy.
이제 양국 간 협력 관계도 원유 건설 협력을 넘어 제조업, 스마트 인프라, 청정 에너지 등 비전 2030 관련된 전 분야로 파트너십을 확장해야 합니다.
South Korea's food and snack producer Nongshim signed deals with Saudi greenhouses to develop smart farms in the country. Punglim Pharmatech, a South Korean medical device manufacturer, agreed to create a Saudi plant. And there were deals in other new types of businesses such as robotics and aesthetics. For conventional areas such as infrastructure and energy, Korea National Oil Corporation and Saudi Arabia's state-run energy company Aramco signed a contract to cooperate in petroleum storage, as well as MOUs for cooperation in Saudi's new smart city construction projects.
양국 경제인 여러분, 이제 사우디는 아시아와 유럽, 아프리카를 연결하는 명실상부한 글로벌 허브 국가로 도약하고 있습니다. 대한민국과 사우디가 함께 써내려갈 새로운 역사의 주인공은 바로 이 자리에 계신 경제인 여러분들입니다.
In terms of Saudi's creation of new cities, President Yoon and the First Lady Kim Gun-hee visited the historical Saudi Arabian town of Darya near Riyadh soon after landing on Saturday. There, President Yoon was asked by Saudi officials to help South Korea participate in a $20 billion project to develop this region. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Now, over in the Middle East, 17 trucks carrying humanitarian aid entered Gaza from the Rafah crossing. Marking the second straight day, medical aid, food and water were sent into the region. Lee Seung-ja has more.
A day after 20 trucks carried medical aid, food, and water into Gaza on Saturday, another 17 trucks moved through the Rafah crossing with more humanitarian aid. For the second straight day, aid was allowed into the Palestinian enclave during a short window as Israel continued preparations for a ground offensive. Despite the much-needed aid flowing into Gaza over the weekend, the United Nations says about 100 trucks per day are required to meet the needs of Gazans. Also, while the trucks carried food, water, and medical supplies, the shipments did not include much-needed fuel. Meanwhile, with tensions rising on the Israel-Lebanon border, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned Hezbollah that it will be making the biggest mistake of its life if it takes part in the armed conflict. His comments came as he visited troops near Israel's northern border with Lebanon, where increased artillery exchanges have been seen, sparking fears of a new front opening. Operations in the region also resulted in shell fragments from an Israeli tank hitting the Egyptian border on Sunday, leaving at least 7 people injured, including several Egyptian border guards. The Israeli military said the incident is being investigated and expressed sorrow, adding that it was accidental. Also on Sunday, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said the ongoing conflict with Hamas could take months, but stressed that it would be the last against the militant group. Israel says that its air raids have been targeting Hamas commanders and infrastructure, but Gaza's health ministry said Sunday that more than 4,600 Palestinians have been killed, including 1,873 children. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea, the U.S. and Japan staged their first joint aerial exercise near the Korean Peninsula on Sunday. We delve deeper into their trilateral efforts to sharpen security cooperation against North Korean threats with Bruce Bennett this morning. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Let's first talk about the strategic assets from all the three sides. Which ones particularly stood out to you?
Well, I think you start with the US B-52 bomber, a clear indication of an aircraft that could do both conventional and nuclear missions. But then you add F-35 aircraft and other advanced aircraft from the three sides that allow them to be able to carry out very precise attacks and very strong air defense. It was a really good exercise to demonstrate those kinds of capabilities.
Right, definitely. This exercise on Sunday was to counter threats from North Korea. Then what does the air drill really say about their ability to deter North Korean threats while maintaining peace and stability here on the Korean Peninsula?
Well, Kim is always going to be tempted to try to do things, provocations, where he thinks he can succeed. What we have to be prepared to do is to convince him that he's not going to succeed. If he tries to use drones, if he tries to use aircraft, these kinds of drills are demonstrating a strong capability to defeat any provocations. You know, it's a little bit like a team preparing a coach preparing an all-star team for a contest in soccer. And the opponent, North Korea, doesn't want us to be training together because if we do, we will do well. But like a soccer team, all-stars come together, they've got to get used to working with each other. And so this kind of drill is to help them understand they train differently as national forces. They've got to learn to work together. And this is really critical to being effective against any adversary.
Right, it's always good to be prepared. And like you said, it is the three sides' first time conducting such air drills, so it is good to be practicing. Now, what does that say about their trilateral partnership? Because the drill really came as a follow-up measure of the Camp David summit.
Oh, exactly. I think what we're seeing is the three countries are recognizing that North Korea poses a threat to all three of us. Their nuclear weapons could be used against any of the countries. Their missiles with conventional or nuclear warheads could be used. Their submarine forces, their other assets could be used, artillery against South Korea. And we have to be prepared in multiple dimensions to deal with those threats. The better prepared we are, the more likely it is that North Korea will not pose those threats because Kim Jong-un doesn't want to look like he fails in any kind of military activity. He's got a country which fails enough already internally with food and other things. He can't fail in this area too.
Right, and I can say this with confidence that North Korea will not be too happy about the joint drills. And I'm afraid that North might take this as an excuse or an opportunity to stage more military provocations.
Well, let's fundamentally look at what North Korea is doing. They're building nuclear weapons all the time. They're constantly producing more weapons. They're constantly producing more ballistic missiles. Those are provocations. Those violate UN Security Council sanctions and resolutions. So I think what we have to be prepared to say so that our people understand what's going on is these are responses to the provocations North Korea is carrying out that they don't want to have publicly recognized at this point, but that we need to be prepared against to try to discourage Kim. An ancient Roman philosopher said, if you want peace, prepare for war. Because if you're prepared, nobody's going to want to fight a war against you.
I see. But we should expect more of these trilateral exercises to come in the future, right?
Oh, exactly. I think this is the character, the trilateral summit that our countries held. That was what they concluded is in order for us to work well together, we've got to learn to work together. We've got to learn how each side uses different kinds of capabilities. And that will make us more effective. It will allow us to extend our capabilities and to frustrate North Korea in its provocations. And that's good for all of our people. That's good for peace in the region. I mean, ironically, China ought to be cheering us on because that means there will be peace where there might not otherwise be. And I don't even think that China wants to see a war on the peninsula. Xi Jinping has certainly said he doesn't.
Right. We do have to be mindful that all these drills are to maintain peace and stability in the region of just not here on the Korean Peninsula, but also globally. Thanks as always for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
South Korea's government announced plans on Sunday to halt the spread of lumpy skin disease in cattle, including providing special subsidies of over 10 billion Korean won, or almost $7.5 million US. Following the first reported case of the viral disease at a farm in Chungcheongnam-do province last week, the number of cases has risen to 10 across the country. Now, subsidies will be allocated to support the local government's disease prevention activities, including the operation of base disinfection facilities. Starting Monday, the Ministry of the Interior and Safety will conduct joint inspections with the Ministry of Agriculture in 5 West Coast regions, including Incheon and Gyeonggi-do province. South Korea's ruling People Power Party and the government are pushing for new measures to help people's livelihoods, focusing on stabilizing prices of everyday items and energy products. This was shared at a meeting between the leaders of the PPP and higher-ranking government officials at the National Assembly on Sunday. Government supplies of 2,900 tons of cabbage will be released ahead of the upcoming kimchi-making season, and there'll be a nationwide discount on certain food products. In addition to extending fuel tax cuts through the year-end, they will actively monitor government reserves of petroleum to take responsive measures when necessary. New data on South Korea's female employment rate has revealed that despite improvement, the country's gender gap is still the 8th largest among the 38 OECD member countries. According to an OECD report on Monday, South Korea's employment rate in the second quarter of 2023 was 76.92% for men and 61.36% for women, a gap of 15.56 percentage points. It's also larger than the OECD average of 13.85 percentage points. South Korea's female employment rate has increased significantly over the past 10 years, but is still low compared to other countries. In fact, Turkey had the lowest female employment at 35.34%. This past Saturday, October 21st, was Hanbok Day. It's a day designated by South Korea's Culture Ministry to raise awareness of the Korean traditional outfit, Hanbok. Our culture correspondent, Song Yu-jin, listened to the stories of people who are working to continue Hanbok's legacy.
Hanbok. It means Korean clothing. The earliest records of Hanbok date all the way back to the ancient Three Kingdoms period. While the tradition of wearing hanbok every day has dwindled, there are those who are working to make sure this 2,000-year-old heritage isn't forgotten. Like hanbok and pattern designer Jang Ha-eun, the CEO of emerging hanbok brand Oud. Her brand designed Blackpink's hanbok costumes for their Coachella headliner performance this year. Chang's designs draw inspiration from traditional Korean objects such as roof tiles or flowers. All her designs, whether that be hanbok or accessories like hats, bags, and even scrunchies, feature her unique patterns and are infused with a creative touch.
People tend to save wearing hanbok for special occasions, which is a bit of a shame. I thought we could set aside traditional hanboks for those moments and introduce modified, newly designed hanboks for everyday wear. This could help hanbok become more beloved for longer.
Hanbok designer Kim Ji-won has been in the industry for nearly 3 decades. Kim, who studied Korean traditional dance, created her first hanbok brand for dancers in 1994. In 2017, she launched her second brand, focusing on making more wearable and comfortable hanboks. She was in charge of the opening and closing ceremony costumes of the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics and Paralympics. She says she's witnessed a positive change in Korea's hanbok culture.
In the past, hanboks were primarily concerned with adhering to traditional aesthetics like collar and sleeve shapes. Nowadays, brands are striving to infuse these garments with historical meaning and significance. The shift has led to a broader array of items with various designs within the hanbok world.
Outside of Korea are those dedicated to promoting hanbok globally. The Asian American Youth Council, for instance, successfully requested New Jersey to declare the first overseas Hanbok Day in 2021.
On this day, you get to see political figures donning with Korean hanbok within the fashion show, and thereby integrating traditional Korean attire into a display of cultural respect.
These are just some of the people who are stitching together tradition and innovation to make sure that hanbok is a lasting legacy. 송유진, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Siyoung Kim, and we now turn over to stories from around the world. We begin in Argentina, where vote counting has begun in the country's presidential election, with the three main libertarian economists, Javier Milei, centrist Peronist economy minister Sergio Massa, and conservative Patricia Bullrich all vying to become leader. Given Argentina's current economic condition, where inflation is running at a three-decade high annual rate of 138%, Argentinians are seeking a candidate who can revive their economy. Some partial results show the government candidate, Sergio Massa, doing better than expected despite Milei's unexpected victory in the August primaries. The turnout has reached 74%, a figure far higher than for the August primaries. Moving over to Asia, ships from China and the Philippines collided on Sunday in the disputed South China Sea. In two separate incidents, Chinese Coast Guard ships collided with a Philippine military supply boat and a Philippine Coast Guard escort boat. Philippine authorities stated that both of the incidents took place near 2nd Thomas Shoal, where a Philippine marine outpost is located. This is an area of South China Sea that China is trying to claim. The 2016 arbitration ruling under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea deemed China's claims illegitimate. Near collisions have been commonplace in the region. However, this was the first time Philippine officials have publicly reported their ships being hit by China's ships. In the U.S. city of Detroit, the head of Synagogue has been found dead in the local park. President of the board at the Isaac-agreed downtown synagogue, Samantha Wall, is suspected to have been fatally stabbed at her home. Detroit police stated that there is so far no evidence suggesting anti-Semitic motives and that many of its resources have been mobilized for further investigation. Many describe Samantha Wall as a much-loved figure in the local community. Again, over in the U.S., pop star Taylor Swift's Eras tour concert film continues to beat domestic box office records, adding another $31 million in ticket sales in its second weekend in theaters. In total, the concert film is estimated to have secured almost $130 million in the 10 days since its release in more than 3,850 theaters across the country. And while the film's distributor is set to release the international figures on Monday, according to reports, if the streak continues, it may top Michael Jackson's This Is It concert film as the highest-grossing global concert movie of all time.
Good morning. After experiencing an unseasonably chill in the air over the weekend, temperatures will return to normal across Korea. It's a much warmer start to the day than Sunday, and highs will finally reach the 20s by the afternoon. Southern provinces will remain mostly sunny all day, while there is a slim chance that the west of central regions will see spotty passing rain. Meanwhile, part of Gangwon province is under a dry weather advisory today. Afternoon highs in most areas will be similar to or slightly higher than the seasonal norms. Seoul and Gwangju will be topping out at 21 degrees Celsius. Daegu and Busan, Jeju will see highs at 22 degrees. I'll say it's nearly perfect weather to explore the enchanting autumn colors today. There will be more on and off rain in the west of central regions through Wednesday at dawn, while a major cold snap may not be in the cards this week, but prepare for a roller coaster ride of temperatures and take good care of yourself. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for Tuesday's edition at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.